This video is made possible by the generous support of our patron on Patreon. Thank you. I feel torn about Turning Red. I enjoy the film more than a lot of recent Disney Pixar releases, but some serious issues leave me very confused. Directed by Domi Shi, who previously directed the excellent short film Bao, Turning Red marks her feature directorial debut. It's a coming-of-age comedy about a Chinese-Canadian girl, Mei Mei, who turns into a red panda whenever she gets too excited. While she struggles with her puberty metaphor, she's also torn between being a good friend and being a good daughter. Well, since the film is about torn identity, I suppose it's only appropriate to approach it as such. So, let me share my thoughts on the film from 3 different angles. As a Chinese-Canadian immigrant, as a critic, sort of, and as a casual viewer. We'll be spoiling the entire film, so give it a watch if you are interested. Otherwise, there's not much else to say, so let's get right into it. Thank God Mei Mei doesn't have to go back to China. Joy Luck Club kinda did it. Shang-Chi definitely did it. Crazy Rich Asians didn't go to China but Singapore. The whole trope just reinforces the notion that Asians belong in Asia. I'm so sick of being told to go home. So it's refreshing to see Mei Mei, a Chinese-Canadian girl, living an immigrant life that feels Canadian. She has friends of various ethnicities, all of them go crazy about a boy band, oh and they spy on boys. School life, dodgeball, birthday parties, drawing horny anime figures, Mei Mei's social life is no different than your average Canadian. Her Chinese roots shows up more when she's home. Dinner, Cantonese TV shows, religious practices. Her Chinese roots are of equal importance to her, but do not exclusively define her identity. She's not just Chinese, she's Chinese-Canadian. This duality is also reflected on the film's various aesthetics, for example, the music. I love how it's often a contemporary score mixed in with some Chinese percussion instruments. It can be very traditionally Chinese when the film calls for it. But it also has a boy band soundtrack. When the two comes together at the end, it's kinda cool. Instead of what reminds me of Chinese culture, our director looked inward and asked, what reminds me of my past? And the result is a much more authentic representation of the Chinese-Canadian experience. It embraces the complexity behind a person's identity and refuses to be defined by stereotypes. For all the young immigrant children who are unsure if they are Chinese or Canadian, the film stands up and says, you can be both, and you can be you. That is very lovely. Now, on to the bad stuff. While the film looks pretty good, it's definitely the lesser of the Pixar catalog. Look, Mei Mei's glasses have no lenses in it. The animation sometimes lacks finesse. Using emoji faces for expression just feels cheap. Still, they are just small blemishes in an otherwise fairly gorgeous movie. It made Toronto look good, that's pretty impressive. My problem with the film mainly lies with 2 things. Number 1, the inconsistent metaphor. Mei Mei turning into a red panda is a metaphor for puberty, right?
I didn't mean that! I'm a gross red monster!
It is preluded by her drawing anime porn. It's in the color red, and it is triggered by intense emotions. For the first act of the film, that connection stands. Mei Mei struggles to keep her emotions at bay and feels lost and confused, as a lot of teenagers do. Mei Mei's mom also experienced this.
Your mother and I were close once, but the red panda took that away.
It's puberty, right? But then the movie starts to lose me. For one thing, Mei Mei quickly gains control of her power and starts using it to gain money. I almost thought her dad was going to die and she was going to turn into a superhero. Towards the end of the film, it's revealed that the entire family still have the power, just suppressed. Okay, it's not puberty then. And at the end, every family member seals the powers away again, except for Mei Mei, who chooses to keep it. So what's the lesson here? Number 2, the film also lacks stakes and consequences. There is practically no downside to Mei Mei's transformation. She uses her power to make money, so she and her friends can go to a concert together. Low stakes, but that's fine. Superbad is a low-stakes teen comedy, and it works. But this abuse of power has to have consequences, right? Grandma wants her not to turn into a panda.
But each time you do, the stronger it gets. And then you'll be bound to it forever.
Next scene, Mei Mei goes to a birthday party and turns into a panda again. Now, what would you do if you were the writer? She's stuck as a panda, right? She wouldn't be able to turn back. She has to face the consequences. But nope, none of that happens. The movie just moves on. Turns out they got the date of the concert wrong. A new obstacle that has nothing to do with her curse. Yes, she does lose control over her emotion, but that reaction feels independent from her transformation. It's something she probably would do as a human too. The panda has no real bearing on the story. To me, both problems comes down to the feeling that the first half of the film feels different than the second half. It sets up a Jekyll and Hyde metaphor for puberty, abandons it, and proceeds to tell a story about generational trauma instead. It's unfocused. I watched the movie twice, and that bothers me both times. Yes, I did watch the film twice. I enjoyed it that much. Despite all of the problems, there is a certain charm to this film. I guess it just has a personality. This goes back to the idea of the director asking, what reminds me of my past? From the 2000s music, to nostalgic TV shows, to Canadian iconography, you can see the director's personal love and affection. Both the Godzilla climax and the Sailor Moon transformation get me pretty excited. The friendship depicted in this story feels natural. I bet these characters are all based on real people. All of these personal touches, while often fail to come together in a cohesive package, are nevertheless very entertaining. Watching this movie is like listening to a new friend rambling on about her interesting life story. It may not be a masterpiece of narrative, but I prefer it over formulaic corporate products. The film clearly means something to the director, and that is enough for me to enjoy the film. So, those are my thoughts on Turning Red. I enjoyed it despite its flaws. Expectations were high for this movie. Bao was such a well-done film, we all wanted an A+ performance from Domi Shi. Instead, we got a B. And on the Asian grading scale, B stands for bad. I think one thing we can all agree, however, is that this film feels different from your usual Pixar animation. And that is a good sign. It shows that Pixar is not afraid to break the formula and is willing to explore ideas, willing to take risks. That's the thing about risk. You don't always strike gold the first time. But there is always next time. At the very least, each time, it will be different and unique.